Dave Rubin, thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure.
When we hear Musk and Trump, for example, saying that they found billions of dollars of fraud and abuse, we aren't being provided with the evidence to suggest that extent of criminal activity.
So I think there's a couple things going on here. First off, the corruption was so deep, the amount of spending was so erroneous and ridiculous.
Is it correct to use the words fraud and abuse, corruption?
Oh, absolutely.
Is Trump using words of fraud and abuse interchangeably with examples of waste, for example? I mean, fraud is a big word.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with him using the word fraud.
J.D. Vance, he said that we may disagree with your views, but we will fight to defend your right to offer it in the public square. I mean, it's a bit ironic that he's saying that when, for example, Trump's denounced journalists as being the enemies of the people. He's threatened to revoke broadcasting licenses from some news channels. And even more recently, he blocked the Associated Press from attending the White House.
Oh, if he was trying to close down the AP, if he was using the power of the state to literally
he's threatened to revoke broadcasting licenses.
I think that can be. I think that can be up for debate. Now it's like we're seeing how all of this is happening. We're seeing receipts.
I'm interested in your point there about being provided with the receipts. In one of your videos, you shared a post by Elon Musk that the New York Times had been paid tens of millions of dollars in the past 5 years to the news outlet. I mean, this has been debunked. In fact, the total figure was 1.6 million for the past 5 years. But that was spent almost entirely on subscriptions, ads, legal notices, delivery charges. And even in Trump's first administration...
I don't know what the government is paying the New York Times for subscriptions and all sorts of other things.
It's 1.6 million for the past 5 years.
Right.
The majority of that was subscriptions.
Right. I just don't know what the government is using our tax dollars to subscribe to the New York Times.
But even under Trump's first administration, they were still also doing that. They were still paying for these subscriptions to the New York Times.
Well, I don't think Trump realized the level, the depth, I would say, of the swamp, really.
But you use the words, so you wonder why they've lied about everything, referring to the New York Times, because the government was funding them. I mean, do you still stand by those claims? Even in your own video, you made an editor's note to say that the total was far less. Would you concede on that?
I'm not totally sure of the video you're talking about. I saw this one yesterday, and I had to read this to you because it's all being exposed. You gotta love it, people. From Ian Miles Chung on the Twitter. Elon retweeted it. The U.S. government gave the New York Times tens of millions of dollars over just the past 5 years, despite paying relatively little money to the New York Times in years preceding 2021. So you wonder, why have they lied about everything? Because the government was funding them. They've made it very clear that they're not really, I would say, an organization that is committed to truth or journalistic integrity. They're an activist organization.
I mean, I guess that's your opinion on that point, but you can concede that it wasn't tens of millions of dollars that was given to the New York
honestly, I
Times.
don't remember the exact video. If our Western countries decide to commit hara-kiri, it'll be because they've done it to themselves. CNN lied about the Russia hoax. CNN lied about COVID. And by the way, when I say CNN, we can include MSNBC in this. We can include the New York Times in this. How is it that on my show I didn't get these massive scandals wrong? Very fine people on both sides.
You publish things on your YouTube channel that
and
are
all
correct
sorts
as well.
of.
This is exciting, this double act. It's the one I never thought we'd ever be able to get in the studio. Legendary host of the Rubin Report, Dave Rubin, and up against the author of the Sunday Times bestseller, Gary Stevenson. Well, welcome to both of you.
I believe in free market capitalism. I want there to be as much competition as possible. How do you afford a house? Well, one way you might want to do it is I would, if I was in charge of your country or mine, I would lower taxes for everybody. I would do a flat tax for everybody. Make sure so whether you're a billionaire or whether you make $100,000 or 75 grand, whatever it might be, you're going to pay whatever the number is. We can all agree on the number. Let's say it's 10%. So I'm very bullish on the American economy and the ability for people who are making 50 grand, which is an awful lot of money, which by the way, if I had a flat tax, I wrote about this in my book, I would exempt people, say under 50. You can have some sort of buffer there. Let's deregulate. Let's figure out where the fraud is. Let's give people more of a chance. We can deregulate the banks so that they're willing to loan again.
Gary?
Opinions are like arseholes. Everybody's got one. My dad was born in 57. He worked for the post office, Royal Mail, 35 years. Never once earned more than the average wage in the country. He was able to buy a house, support a family. My parents are retired now. They own their own property. They're financially secure. That's not possible now. He lived in an era where the top rate of tax was much, much, much higher. The 50s, the 60s, the 70s in the UK, in the US, the top rate of tax on large estates was significantly higher. And in that time period, it's not a coincidence, ordinary people could afford to buy houses.
Making the argument that 40 or 50 years ago the tax rates were higher and somehow that made things better. First off, times change.
Could I ask a question? You've accepted there that during COVID there was a massive transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich, and all the statistics support that. After COVID, after lockdowns, after reopening, we know there's been a massive transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich. We then saw a massive fall in living standards for the middle class and for the poor. Do you think those two things are connected?
From an American perspective, I would say those things are largely connected.
Right, you've already accepted, if we massively increase inequality, that can decrease living standards. If we massively decrease tax on the rich, people who make passive income of $100 million a year, do you think that will affect living standards of the middle class?
I don't know, which is why, unfortunately, he can't tell you how much he's donated while he wants to take other people's money.
I don't donate anything. I'm not here to be Mother Teresa. I'm here to tell the American public why they're going to lose their house.
A little bit of an
Would
you be for a flat tax? Pick whatever the number is, 12% on
No, because it won't work. A flat tax is still going to work.
And we're going to perhaps audit the Fed and find out where the trillions of dollars to Ukraine went and everything else.
How rich is Elon Musk? How rich is Elon Musk?
It's worth trillions, I don't know.
Okay, let's say he's worth $300 billion. Okay, what is his passive income going to be on $300 billion?
I understand. So you want him to
$15
be
billion
taxed
a year.
more.
$15 billion a year. Okay, what's $15 billion a year per week? We're talking about something like $300 million a week.
Well, what's your point?
These guys have no choice but to buy up the assets. These guys will buy up all of the assets.
Can you point to a country in the last century where socialism has worked?
I will point to a country where taxing the rich at a fair rate led to good living standards for working people, United States, 1955. Okay, I worked hard to drag my family out of poverty, right? And I paid 50, 60% a year tax. At the same time, Duke of Westminster inherits £10 billion, more than 3,000 times what I made, pays nothing. Do you think that's fair?
No.
Do you think that's fair?
No, but again,
so let's change it. Let's change it. Let's tax working people less, your viewers less, and let's tax the billionaires more. I'm going to go home and I'm going to bet on the collapse of the American middle class, and it's going to happen. And I'm here telling them it's going to happen.
Okay,
and I'm here telling them how to stop
but why don't you do that and
I ain't here
donate
pretending to be a
1%
good
of your
person.
salary?
I never said I was a good person. Read the book, you can see. But I'm a good fucking economist and I'm going to be right. And you've made your prediction that living standards will increase in the next 3 years. And I've made my prediction that they won't. And we will see in 3 years who's right. And I will tell you right now, I haven't been wrong many times in the past. Listen.